Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to Tor State of the Union 2023. My name is Isabela Fernandes, and I'm the Executive Director at the Tor Project. I'd like to give you a warm welcome to our end of the year live stream. Today, you will hear from different teams at Tor about the work they are doing and what to expect in 2024. These teams have worked hard to improve Tor and its experience for millions of users all around the world. Some of these projects are part of our goals for the next 5 years. I actually became the executive director at Tor 5 years ago, in November 2018. Back then, we set goals for Tor 2. For the organization, we mainly wanted to have a mature Tor project with a culture that reflects our mission and values. For the product, the Tor network, the Tor browser, Onion service, and all the different tools we build, we focus on our users. They are the main beneficiaries of everything we do. Now we are discussing the next 5 years. Some of our priorities are no surprise. It will be the conclusion of important projects, and you'll hear more about that today. The other priority is the mobile experience. Most people in the world only access the internet through a mobile device. We want to make sure Tor works for them. This means better integration with mobile apps, improve Tor's performance, and to build a VPN-like client. Many servers, when you access on a desktop browser, becomes an app once you are on mobile. So we need to cover that experience as well. 5 years ago, we decided to build a user-centric approach for the development at Tor. We connected the community teamwork that has the direct relationship with our users with the UX team, bringing user feedback to the center of our work. The results of this, you can see, is in every usability improvement that have been done at the Tor browser so far. We want Tor to work for everyone. We are collecting stories from users about why they use Tor, and the diversity of reasons is immense. We have doctors using Tor to protect the privacy of the patients, human rights defenders that are at risk and need anonymity online, people living under crisis that want to bypass censorship so they can access and share information, or someone who just wants to make a safe search online. Right now in the world, we have conflicts happening, climate disasters, shifts in politics that puts millions of people at risk. And in all these circumstances, the internet has become crucial for us to communicate, to learn about what is happening around the world, to organize and to defend human rights, and to build solidarity. This update is for you, Tor user, so you can learn a bit more about what's going on at Tor. And for our community, as one of our efforts to share more and be more transparent. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, users and community, for your support and the trust in the work that we do. Thank you. While today our State of the Union will have updates from Tor teams, next Wednesday on December 6th at 1700 UTC, we will also have our community State of the Union. So stay tuned for that next week. Before we start with our first presentation, I would like to remind that the State of the Union is part of a fundraising campaign. If you would like to make a donation to Tor, you can go to donate.torproject.org. There are many options how to donate, and there are some cool swags as well. Now, we will start our State of the Union 2023 with a recorded video from Richard, our applications team lead. Then we'll talk about the usability improvements we had on Tor browser, the work we did with MoveAd to build the MoveAd browser, and our priorities for 2024. So now let's get started.
Hi, my name is Richard, and this is going to be your 2023 State of the Union Applications Team Update. So briefly, what we'll cover is our mobile browser release, why we're developing mobile browser, our Tor and mobile browser 12.5 and 13.0 releases, and what's coming in 2024. So the initial release was in April of this year, and basically takes advantage of our patch linearization and refactor work that I talked about last year. Mobile browser essentially builds off of the middle of the Tor browser patch set, which we kind of call base browser. It's developed and released in tandem with Tor browser, which is why its initial version is 12.0.4 instead of something reasonable like 1.0. And it's available for download from Movead's website. But why Movead browser? Why are we doing this? So Movead came to us in the middle of last year and said, hey, Tor browser is cool and all, but our VPN users would also like similar fingerprinting and anti-tracking protections. Can you help us out? And we thought about it. And it's like, well, we've already kind of done a little bit of the legwork in terms of, separating out the Tor functionality from sort of like generic fingerprinting and tracking protection and that sort of functionality. So we said, yeah, I could probably do that. The benefit to us is that we can more freely experiment with these sort of like mobile browser alpha channel users. So even in the Tor browser alpha channel, we have a very like high bar for what is and isn't acceptable in terms of features or functionality, which can put our users at risk, because we do have a very small population of users where they really need the anonymity protections that Tor browser offers, and we can't really do anything in Tor browser stable or Tor browser alpha, which could potentially put those users at risk. But with mobile browser, we don't really have that problem. So the hope is that we can kind of develop new features and improvements in the mobile browser alpha channel, verify and vet it in that channel, bring it over to mobile browser stable, and then once we're really sure that it's good and cool, we'll bring it over to Tor browser. And one really nice thing we've kind of discovered about this whole process is that the sort of like release overhead is pretty minimal. We had, of course, like the initial development effort that went to mobile browser, but keeping it up to date and updating it and building out releases every time we do a Tor browser release isn't that much more extra work. So this year we also released a Tor mobile browser 12.5 and 13.0. On the Tor browser side, you can go and read our blog posts for the nitty-gritty details of everything we've done. But at a high level, we basically had usability improvements and polish, the major ESR update and security audits associated with it, and code cleanup and Tor integration improvements. So last year I was talking about how Tor button was, or sorry, how Tor launcher was no longer a thing. And all of this code was integrated into Tor browser itself, and that the project had been archived. Well, we can now say the same thing about Tor button. All of its functionality has been either migrated or re-implemented in Tor browser itself, and the old Tor button extension project itself is now also archived. So what's coming in 2024? So first up is we're going to be improving our feature parity between Tor browser for Android with Tor browser for desktop. The first thing that we're working on is a connect assist for Tor browser for Android to allow users in sensory context to automatically connect to the Tor network and apply the various settings they need to do so. We're expecting that to hit alpha in the end of January of 2024, with the hope of bringing that into stable early this summer. Well, early next summer. We're going to do the similar sort of treatment where we refactor and clean up the Android components and put the sort of Tor functionality at the end of those patch sets and bring the sort of common shared fingerprinting and tracking functionality at the beginning of the patch set. So it'll be a nice clean division between just general browser stuff and Tor specific stuff. We're going to update our design and threat model document. This hasn't been done in at least 5 years, and the internet has changed since then. This will basically allow users, one, to understand what it is a Tor browser does, and two, it will allow developers, one, to understand what Tor browser does, but also will shape their reasoning and thinking about how we implement new features and what features are acceptable, what features aren't, based off of how we're thinking about the sort of threat model users are facing. Finally, we're going to be having, well, not quite finally, we're going to be improving our deployment situation for Windows and Linux. We're going to keep the same sort of portable installation methods that we already have, but we're looking into also adding in system installer for Windows, so just go C program files like every other program out there, and also packaging for Linux, something like .debs and .rpm, something like that. Finally, we're going to be prepping Tor browser for RD and Tor VPN. So currently Tor browser uses the legacy Tor daemon, and up until this past summer, we basically had code scattered throughout the Tor browser sort of code base that talked to the Tor daemon. A lot of the work that went to the refactor this summer was consolidating all of that sort of Tor communication functionality into one JavaScript module, which currently just talks to the Tor daemon. But going forward, once RD and RD daemon and Tor VPN are an actual thing, we'll only need to go in and implement one new sort of JavaScript module per Tor backend, rather than having to have code scattered about the entire code base. All right, that has been 2023 in review. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to the users and the testers and those of you who submit patches. We love you all very much.
All right, that was Richard, our applications team lead. And as you can see, we are prioritizing the work on our Android browser, and we'll continue to develop our VPN client. As we prioritize the mobile experience, we want to make sure our clients for Android, the browser, and soon the VPN receive the proper love they deserve. Now, I would like to invite Nick Matthewson, who will talk about RT, a big effort to rewrite Tor in Rust that will bring many benefits, including make it easier for apps to embed Tor. Hi, Nick. Welcome to SOTO 2023.
Hi, Isa. Hi, everybody.
Let's get started.
So I'm Nick. I'm one of the co-founders of Tor, and today I'm going to talk about Arty. What is Arty? It's our project to try to re-implement Tor in the Rust programming language. We started it around 2020, and these days we've got a whole team working on it. So why rewrite Tor at all? It does work, but it's a piece of software that at this point is almost 20 years old in some of its places, and it's written in the C programming language, and both the implementation and the choice of programming language are starting to show their age. We've learned a lot since we started, and we want to apply what we know. So why choose Rust? Well, most prominently, Rust makes a large class of security bugs that are easy in C very hard to write. And we find that this isn't just theoretical, it's absolutely true in practice. We have just not been writing as many security holes, and we aren't as freaking out as hard trying to make sure that we don't. Reliability. It's not just security bugs that we find ourselves avoiding. There's all kinds of crash bugs. There's all kinds of surprising behaviors that are easier to avoid in a higher level language in general. The safety from Rust also makes a lot of kinds of performance easy to get. There are things that we just wouldn't want to try and see because they're so risky, like zero copy or fewer copy networking implementations, like better parallelization across multiple processor cores, that are a lot easier to do with high confidence in Rust. And for the future, we find that a fresh, well-designed code base is a lot easier to maintain and develop on. We spend a lot less time fighting with the code that's already there and trying to work around its limitations, and a lot more time actually developing what we need to develop. Also, the security and safety of the programming language means that we spend less time double checking and triple checking to make sure that we've done everything in a way that can't possibly be wrong, that we've stuck to only the very, very reliable parts of C, but it lets us develop faster by letting us work in a safer, more expressive language. So, what have we got done since last year? We have built a lot of client functionality. This sums up pretty quickly, but the amount of work that went into it is a lot. First thing we did is we finished anti-censorship support. Bridges and pluggable transports work just fine now, we think. We started that work in 2022, last year, and we wrapped it up shortly after last year's State of the Onion. We have been doing a lot of work on Onion services this year. This has taken up most of our time. And we have usable Onion service client support. We almost have usable service-side support. There are a few missing parts that we need to build in there so that it's usable and reliable. But after that, it'll be ready for testing and ready for everyone to use. There are still security features that we haven't implemented yet that mean that you shouldn't use these implementations yet if you need them for privacy. We're going to be addressing those issues as well over the coming year. And we've done lots and lots of API design over this past year. As Richard talked about, we need to have Arty be the basis of lots of other programs, not just Tor browser, but really everything else that uses the CTOR implementation. We wanted to be able to migrate to Arty and have a much better time using Arty than it did before. So that means making Arty easy to embed, easy to develop with as few gotchas as possible. So what comes next for us? First thing we're going to do is we're going to finish Onion services. We've got to wrap up the work, get them secure, get all of the features done, and generally ship them out, listen to text feedback. We've got to finish our RPC support. That's the API design that I was talking about previously. We've got to make sure that we've got the best designed Tor API ever, with support for application isolation, working as a library or out of process like Tor does, and generally easy to use as the basis for other stuff, not just from Rust, but from any programming language you want. And another huge chunk of work is going to be, we want Arty to be ready to replace the CTOR implementation as the recommended Tor client for everyone to use. That means building out whatever missing features are most needed. That means making sure there's no missing security features that we haven't built yet, making sure all the documentation and usability stuff is in a good place, and asking for a whole lot of feedback. And also, just starting, not finishing, we're going to be starting on relay support. We want to migrate the whole network to be running on RD. But before we can do that, we need RD to actually run as a relay. This is going to be a multi-year effort. We think we might have some code working next year, but it probably won't be anything usable besides tests. So you can help, and it would be great if you would. In addition to donating to the Tor Project to support us as we do this work, one way you can help is test our code and test our programs and give us some feedback. If you can use Git to download software, and if you can build from source code, we would love you to find out where our documentation isn't working, where stuff doesn't make sense, where stuff isn't working for you. Please join up and report bugs and let us know what's good and what isn't. We could use any help from people who feel like programming. We found that people tend to do a lot better on RD than they have on CTOR in the past as new contributors. It is easier to find your way around this code base and reportedly a lot more fun when you don't have to worry about writing a buffer overflow with nearly every line that you write. We find that volunteers get up to speed a lot faster, and we can accept their patches with much greater confidence. And I'd like to thank everybody who's helped this effort so far. It goes on day by day, and it's important work. It just takes 5 minutes to describe everything we've done, but it's taken months and months of people and hard working and thinking hard to build all of this, and we can't do it alone. So if you'd like to learn more, or if you'd like to help us with any of this stuff, please visit that website, rd.torproject.org. Thanks for listening, and I'll pass you back now to Isabela.
Thank you, Nick. This is amazing. And as Nick said, right, like we are talking 5 minutes, but this is a lot of work. Actually, on our second year of working on RT, but every year we get closer, right, like to migrate clients and also eventually release and eventually get our whole network running on RT. So thank you so much for the update, Nick. And now while we work on RT, we still need to keep safe the C network, right? Like the Tor network running on C. And we also want to have done amazing work to improve the performance of the Tor network. So I'd like to invite Alex, our network team lead. Hi, Alex, to come and share with us a little bit about that work, right? Like what's going on with the C-Tor network. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Isa. The presentation I'm going to give you here is going to be a short presentation on the general network, Tor network performance status that we have, particularly some of the work we already updated you on last year, but also some new stuff that we have discovered and worked on over the last year. First, a little bit of some updates on the network team at Tor. As Nick already presented, a big chunk of the work we're doing right now is related to the RD code base. This is a big investment from the organization, and it's a very important piece of work for the future Tor. But we also have to maintain the CTOR implementation that is currently fueling all the products that we have out here. Over the past year, or more or less since the last State of the Onion, we have some new folks who have joined the team. So if you're collaborating with the team, you might have bumped into both Beth and Gabby, who are fantastic engineers who have joined us to work on both CTOR and RD. Last year, you also heard an update from Jim on Shadow, and Jim has moved to work full-time on the network team inside of Tor on RD and CTOR stuff as well. Rato, who, if you have any experience working with Onion services, you might have read some of his work. He's also now part of the team to work with the team on different kind of Onion service requirements that we want to build up over time. Last year, we talked a lot about congestion control. Congestion control has now been in the network for a while. We ended up with this slightly modified version of the Vegas algorithm, and in the Tor 048 release, which is the release that came after the 047 series where congestion control arrived, we decided to remove the algorithms that we were no longer going to use as they were just being technical debt at this point. Vegas did end up as the winner, and we will continue over time to do tuning of this system using consensus parameters that we made available during development. We plan on adding support for this for RD. This is one of those things where we've modified CTOR, but we haven't updated RD yet, but we expect to do that in 2024. If we look a bit at some of the data we have gotten now that congestion control has been out in a while, you can see in this plot from 2020 that we have some pretty steep curves coming for downloads of 5 megabyte files from a public server over the Tor network. Especially the red graphs here looks bad, and this is specifically a site in Hong Kong where we're trying to download from. And you can see there's download times that are almost up in the realm of above 50 seconds, which of course is not particularly usable for people. And this is the kind of thing that leads to frustration when people are using the Tor system and will make them want to use other systems instead. As you may remember from last year's State of the Onion, we had done surveys previously where some of the feedback we got from the community was around that people were unsatisfied with performance. So this is, of course, why we are doing this. If we take a look at 2023 in the graphs where we both have where the congestion control system has been downloaded, we can see that the graph is a lot more squeezed together. The worst things we're seeing now is in the 20 to 30 seconds download for these sites. So this is a very, very nice improvement, and we're very happy to see all the work that was carried out on this work in practice. It's always difficult for the team to be sitting and working in the dark, and then it's of course a relief to see things working well when it's deployed in the network. Another big feature that we landed that we talked a bit more about earlier as well is conflux. Conflux is a feature that depends upon the congestion control system, so that you, in the usual case of using Tor, Alice would pick a path to Bob, where Bob is usually a web server. Alice would pick 3 hubs, in this case, let's say it's R1, R2, R7, and then finally establish a connection from the exit node to Bob. What conflux allows us to do is that Alice can create multiple paths through the network and end up at the same exit node. Alice can then use the congestion control subsystem that we added in 047 to get information about which paths are the least congested, and thus make decisions for which paths to transmit over in the network. This should ideally both make things more performant. What we are observing in the network seems to be that we have a 2x multiplier for download speed, which is very nice, but also that we should hopefully be able to have more long-lived connections in the network, as long as the exit node is not going down as part of the flow, the network flow. We have over time seen many different kinds of denial of service attacks in the Tor ecosystem, in the Tor network. This, of course, impacts the user experience for Tor users quite a lot, but it also leads to frustration amongst the relay operator community, because it of course, gives various kinds of problems. The kind of funding that we receive from various grants and so on are, of course, critical to Tor's ability to build big features such as the Tor Project and so on. But we also rely heavily on getting funding from smaller funders and individual donors, such as people observing the State of the Onion right now. But we need to give a big shout out to especially one group that came together that we had when we had a very significant denial of service attack on the network, and helped us fund significant features that I will talking about in a moment, which is the Onion Service Resource Coalition. This form of unrestricted funding that allows us to be building stuff here and now that we hadn't planned for a while ago is crucial for our ability to navigate certain unforeseen events that happens when you're building things on the internet. If you're interested in this kind of stuff and you're following some of the work, we have a GitLab instance on gitlab.torproject.org. We have a sponsor 112 and a denial of service label that you can track some of these progress on. One of the big things that we had hoped to be doing that the Onion Service Resource Coalition helped us achieve was implement a proof of work subsystem for Onion services. The way this works is that when you run an Onion service, you can the system can dynamically figure out if there's certain pathological situations that appears and enable and tune itself and disable itself when the danger is over. Hopefully, what we hope to see here is that the cost of attacking Onion services will get higher. It's a fairly complicated system. If you're technical person who likes to nerd out about some of these things, you can check out the spec on the URL on the bottom of the slide. And also, again, a huge thanks to Tevador for helping us with building this system originally. We, in addition to sort of the general kind of network state, if you're interested in this stuff, we also had a presentation with the network team together with the network health team and the community team at the Chaos Communication Camp earlier this summer, where there's videos online where we talk a lot about the general state of the network health. Now we are moving a bit into what's happening now and what will be happening in 2024. One of the big things we're looking at right now that a bunch of the team is looking into is adding UDP support in the Tor network. As this visualization indicates, the goal is that we will continue to use TCP as interconnection both between the clients and the guards, but also between the guards and the other nodes in the network. What we will extend is that the exit node has the ability to bind to UDP sockets and make connections out to the internet. This is, of course, related to the Tor VPN work that Richard already mentioned in their presentation. And we hope to have something to show you at a later point with this once the network is starting to upgrade. The UDP features will hopefully enable us to add support for different kinds of applications that we don't support today. And part of that, the sort of holy grail of this is to be able to do live streaming, have VoIP interactions, and also WebRTC over UDP in this system. Like with many of the recent features we have deployed to benefit from this, the cycle that we will have to deploy is that clients and exit nodes will have to be upgraded for this to get in. And the team is working very hard on that right now. As part of the UDP work, we're also adding support for something called fragmented and packed cell. I'm not going to dive too much into these in this presentation, but the most important thing is that fragmented cells is the last chunk we need for doing some of the post-quantum features if we want to do that in the future for the cryptography engine in Tor. The team has continued to work with the shadow simulation tool. A huge shout out to everybody who's been working very hard on that over the past years. It has been such a nice way to work for the team to be able to experiment and track progress before we deploy things to the network. So we will absolutely continue using that for the future, and especially when we begin the work that Nick was mentioning on implementing relay support in RD. We have to give, again, a huge shout out as well to the relay operator community. You were fast when you were deploying Tor 047 with congestion control, but when we released the version with Conflux, you guys were also doing a fantastic job with getting this deployed in the network so we could start seeing these things and show the visualizations that I was showing earlier. We're not able to do the work on Tor without you guys. It's absolutely an honor to be part of the community with you guys, and it's amazing to see how much you care for the network as a whole. That was it for me. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions about anything I presented, you're welcome to drop me an email or find me on some of the Tor communication channels, and I will be happy to answer anything you may have. Back to you, Isa.
Thank you, Alex. Not easy, right? As we are fighting the DOS attacks and building, right, new defense mechanisms for onion service, we're also trying to make the network faster by creating congestion control and conflux. And I think this has been amazing work by the team. And again, our community, code contributors, the relay operators, everybody jump onto it and help us with this work. So thank you for the team, and thank you for everybody who helped with this. Of course, that just it doesn't matter if we make the network fast and we make the network great for everybody if the user cannot access the network, right? So that's my segue for my next guest, to invite Lindsey from the Anti-censorship team. The Anti-censorship team is the one that helps our users bypass censorship against Tor by building different tools. And they also are in this arms war, right? Like race with censors and trying to figure out what they're doing and how to combat that censorship. Hi, Lindsey. Welcome to Soto.
Hi.
All right. Let's hear a little bit more about the crazy work at the Anti-censorship team. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so hello, I'm Lindsey or Onion Yang from Tor's anti-censorship team, here to give the update from our team. As you may recall from last year's State of the Onion, Tor's anti-censorship team spent much of 2022 responding to large-scale censorship events in Russia and Iran. And while that was a challenging time for our team, it provided an excellent opportunity to test and identify weaknesses in our existing censorship-resistant infrastructure and consider where we could best direct our energy to improve our systems when time allowed. And in 2023, we found some of that time. We spent most of our time this year expanding and improving the tools in our toolkit so that we can better respond to censorship events as they occur. So you might be thinking, wouldn't it be better to just improve the tools that Tor already has that we know work? And yes, we don't want to discontinue or abandon the tool. However, the landscape is constant. Sensors are constantly discovering new ways to block existing solutions. Beyond that, every sensor has different methods and motivations for censoring the internet. So we can't just use a kit. The more tools we have in our toolbox, the better we will be able to target our response, make cracks through to the free and open internet, and keep. In 2023, we focused on developing and testing 3 brand new tools: WebTunnel, Conjure, and Locks, which I'll talk a little bit more about. WebTunnel is a pluggable transport that is based on a protocol by Woostrow and Frolov and was originally named HTTPT. So this name can be somewhat confusing with HTTP name collisions. So we named Tor's implementation WebTunnel to avoid that confusion. WebTunnel traffic appears as a regular secure connection to a website. If a sensor doesn't know the full website address and the secret path of the web tunnel, it's very difficult for them to determine whether the website is also a web tunnel bridge. Now I have to point out that the anti-censorship team's work is heavily reliant on the contributions of amazing volunteers from all over the world. When we first released WebTunnel, Gus from our anti-censorship team made a call out to Tor's forum for volunteer testers, as he typically does when we're testing new tools. WebTunnel is a bit more involved to test because it requires both setting up a Tor bridge as well as running a website. And yet we got a great response from volunteers after putting out the call that gave us excellent feedback on things to improve and will allow us to more easily scale our WebTunnel operations going forward. Sorry, this was the graph that I had meant to show. Thank you. So thank you so much to all of our amazing volunteers from around the world who helped to improve our anti-censorship tools. The anti-censorship team has also been collaborating with Jack Wampler and Eric Woostrow at the University of Colorado to implement a Conjure pluggable transport for Tor. So Conjure takes advantage of the large number of unused IPv6 addresses in a friendly ISP provider's address space. A Conjure user can connect to one of these unused phantom addresses to circumvent censorship. Since the space is very large and the connection addresses can keep changing, it's difficult for a sensor to block all potential phantom proxies without incurring significant collateral damage against real websites hosted by the deploying ISPs. And once again, when we released Conjure in alpha, volunteers came through to help us test it out. So once again, I'd like to thank all of our amazing volunteers. The final tool, Locks. So Locks is a new privacy-preserving reputation-based bridge distribution system that aims to tackle the issue of distributing bridges to users that we don't know, who may or may not be Tor's desire to provide bridges to any user that needs a bridge, defending against sock puppet accounts that can repeatedly request new bridges in order to enumerate and block them. Locks was developed by myself and Dr. Ian Goldberg from the University of Waterloo. And we're getting ready to deploy Locks in early 2024, and we'll be calling for volunteers again to help us out with that. So keep an eye out for that announcement. A major challenge in 2023 was assisting with the censorship circumvention in Turkmenistan. This really pushed the limits of Tor's existing censorship tools. We find as in other locales since Turkmenistan's censorship behavior was vastly different than we've encountered elsewhere. As an example, the Turkmen censors did not seem to be bothered by the collateral damage incurred by blocking entire IP blocks. We were able to support some users with Meek and OBS4 bridges, but the providers that Tor relies on for domain fronting, which supports meat bridges, will be discontinuing their services in 2024. So this is a good demonstration of the continued need to develop our tools in order to address the various types of censorship we encounter. So assuming that the current relatively calm state continues, which we can never really expect to be the case, our plans for 2024 are to add additional tools to our toolkit, particularly to address the deprecation of domain fronting that I mentioned, the alpha release of locks, which once again, I'd remind everyone to keep an eye out for our call for amazing volunteer testers to help us sort out the kinks in the system and get it ready for stable. And finally, the deprecation of BridgeDB in favor of RDSys, which will allow us to react faster to censorship events since RDSys is more modular and allows us to more easily plug in new distribution tools we develop. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone and back to Isa.
Thank you, Lindsey. There was some bumps on the connection, but we got it. There was just very small bumps, and we could get the context of the presentation. And again, right, like this is really hard work to figure out what's going on with the censorship and be able to build tools and adapt it right on the heat of the moment. And the support of our volunteers is amazing. So thank you for the work, and thanks all the volunteers who help on this work as well. The Tor Project is a nonprofit organization that depends on the support from its community. It's a great moment for me to remind that this is a fundraising event, and if you'd like to contribute with a donation, you can go to donate.torproject.org. There are many ways you can donate to Tor, and right now, your donation is going to be matched by a friend of Tor. So for every dollar you donate, we get two. So please make a donation and help us. And also with this match, you're helping us in double. So this contribution will help us to continue the work that we're doing that helps millions of people to stay safe online. And as we talk about the ways you can help, our community is a crucial part of Tor. They help us run the Tor network, test our tools as you've seen, translate the tools as well on our website and our documentation, teach others about it, just to name a few of the ways folks can contribute to the project. So now I would like you to hear more from the work of our community team, who provides support for all the different community members at Tor. So please welcome Gus from our community team lead. Hi, Gus. Welcome to Soto.
Hi, Isa. How are you? I'm good.
All right, let's get started.
Yes. So today, different from last year, we will going to have two presentations. My presentation will be focused on building a trusted and open Tor community network. And Raya, that's coming next, will talk about the work that she is doing with our community and trainings. So there are different perspectives on how to build a trusted Tor network. Alex was talking about protections against DDoS and other technical solutions. I'm going to focus on the relay operators community because this is the work that the community team is doing. So before we jump on discussing solutions, I want to give you an overview about the Tor network. We have more than 150,000 Snowflake proxies. Probably this is the biggest proxy network. We have 7,000 public Tor relays and 2,300 bridges. And I'm going to talk later about this, but thank you a lot for running the Tor network. This is basically the work that all volunteers are doing in making this network open and strong. So, and we want to continue this network open and volunteer. So we have been doing a lot of work on the community aspect to, one, make that strong against attackers. And one way to do that is meeting people. So over the last years, we have been connecting with operators, talking with them, checking how they are doing, how their relays are doing. We have open channels for discussion, the Tor forum. We have an active mailing list, the Tor relays, and this unit can serve as a collective defense against malicious actors. So this is the work that the community team is doing to use our community, to build a community to protect against bad actors. And we have an upcoming in-person meetup at the Chaos Communications Congress. So if you don't have any plans, maybe you want to join us in person in this event. And the other work that we have been doing is for the relay operator community is build community policies. So at the beginning of the year, we, Giko from Network Health and I and others, we discussed some solutions and how to evaluate solutions. So we built a document about evaluation, the criteria for solutions to combat bad relays. So we want to keep the Tor network open. We don't want people paying a fee to join the Tor network. So any solution that talks about, hey, you need to pay a fee, a blue badge, or something like that, or just $8 per year, this is against our policy. So this document is basically all these criteria together to evaluate other solutions. And everybody can propose and can suggest a solution to combat bad relays or to improve the network health. We have an open process. So if you click on the link that's on the screen, you can see the process, how to submit a proposal for the Tor community. So this is the work that we have been doing for the relay operators community, and this is the work that we are going to continue to do next year. So thanks for funders helping us to maintain a good and open Tor community. And the other topic that I have that I want to talk is fighting censorship with Tor. So as Lindsey was saying, we need more bridges. We need more people running bridges to fight internet censorship. Next year, we know that it's going to have some big events, for example, the elections in Russia, and we need more obscure bridges. We need more web tunnel bridges. We need more Snowflake proxies. So Tor Project is part of the Keep It On coalition from Access Now, and we are very happy to train human rights defenders and to help people to bypass the internet censorship, but we need more people in the community or more people joining the community to run more obscure bridges, to run more Snowflake proxies, and to help us to fight internet censorship. So this is my message for this year. Thank you. And the next person is Raya, my colleague from the community team. Hello, Raya.
Hello, guys. Thank you very much. Hello, folks. So I'm Raya, Tor's Education and Communities Coordinator, and I'm going to tell you all about the trainings and outreach we've been doing throughout the year. All right, so one of the things that has been keeping us busy this year is running dozens and dozens of trainings online and offline with journalists, activists, human rights defenders, and lawyers from all across global majority countries, from Bolivia to Brazil, Palestine to Sudan, Uganda to Zimbabwe, but also from Armenia, going all across Georgia. So we ran also 4 different online meetups, regional meetups with partners across Eastern Africa and Latin America. And we brought together all of our partners. We shared updates from the Tor project, but also it was an opportunity to learn from our partners how things have been going and the trainings they've been doing on the ground. So none of this is done alone. Our trainings and meetups are run in partnership with organizations and coalitions such as Access Now's Keep It On coalition. All right, and this year we also launched the Privacy Resilience Grants Program. We ran 2 rounds, and in each round supported 8 organizations from across Eastern Africa to run digital security and Tor trainings on the ground, but to also support with Tor usability research. So the aim was to grow the community of advocates around privacy-preserving technologies and materially support local efforts. Here we're highlighting one of the trainings run by our friends Kijiji Yetu in Kenya, who've ran wonderful workshops all across Kenya on Tor and digital security. So asante sana to our friends from Kijiji Yetu. And arguably the most exciting bit of the year was our Tor Training Academy, where we brought together over 20 digital security practitioners in a 2-day in-person boot camp to train all of these digital security trainers on how to teach Tor and going through the details of Tor's network and ecosystem of tools. We also were lucky to invite our friends from the Open Observatory of Network Interference, UNI, to talk about measuring network tampering, and also Localization Lab to present the efforts done to make Tor tools available in dozens of languages. And finally, we collaborated with our wonderful design team to create simple and easy to understand educational videos on how to use Tor browser, all about circumventing censorship in the most restrictive places using bridges and pluggable transports, and also did a short video demo of Onion Share, which is the anonymous file sharing tool developed by Michael Lee. And as part of our efforts within the community team, we do lots of user support. So if you need advice and guidance on bypassing censorship, don't hesitate to reach out to us via our front desk. You can just email us or shoot us a message on Telegram, WhatsApp, or Signal. And if you have just general inquiries about Tor, you can also post or maybe create an account on our forum and post a topic. All right, and thank you very much. Salam, everyone, and back to you, Isa.
Hi, Raya. Thank you so much. It's amazing. Like, I don't know how you all are capable of doing so much during 1 year, right? Like, it's an evolution in this process of working with our community. So thank you so much, Raya, for this amazing work. Thank you. And like I said in my opening, the community team now works with the UX team to bring user feedback to the work we do. This is great, especially as we don't collect any data on our users. However, we do need data and metrics to understand how our network and the different services we provide are doing. We are very careful while doing this and to make sure that we are preserving people's privacy and not creating any risk to Tor or its users. And now I will be playing a recorded video from Hero, our metrics team lead, who will be sharing more about the work that we're doing on metrics at Tor and what are our priorities for 2024.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the State of the Onion Metrics. I'm here to tell you a little bit about what metrics in Tor. But we're gonna start, so brace yourself, it's going to be a wild ride. The Tor network is one of the largest anonymity networks around, and we take great care when collecting and aggregating data so the user privacy isn't compromised because of it. The data published by metrics is used by relay operators, Tor developers, digital rights activists, journalists, and in general, data enthusiasts. Metrics data come in the spotlight usually during geopolitical events. Journalists and activists check Tor metrics website to understand if something is happening in a certain region of the world when communication networks are censored. But this data is also important to understand what's happening on the network. People usually check tormetrics.torproject.org to understand how the network is used, who's part of it, and so on. And again, during censorship event, this data is very important because it helps the circumvention tech developers help people connect to Tor and reach the uncensored net. The metrics team is part of the network health team. It's composed mainly by myself, but it's also a group of volunteers that contribute code, research, and submit bug reports. Now, let's rewind the tape and look at the highlights of this year. Our mission this year was making Tor data more accessible. Basically, in the current infrastructure, we have collected Tor.org, where we archive, serve all of historical documents, and as anyone who has worked with these documents knows, these are not easy to parse or process. On top of that, all our services in our infrastructure were doing this processing separately. So as the network grew over the years and the data produced became large as well, we run into a few issues that if you're curious about, you can check on the issues from a GitLab linked in this slide. So eventually our aim was to address this issue by storing and serving Tor network data in a format that supports mainly efficient querying, but also processing. So what actually means making Tor data more accessible? We wanted to have mainly historical data from the network. We want to be able to provide relevant metrics to relay operators, better tools and statistics and visualization, and serve the diverse community of people that use our data. This is why we're now storing all the data basically in a database format. We actually have two databases. One is a relational database with PostgreSQL, and the other one is a time series database, a little bit like Prometheus for aggregated data. Having historical data was really important to us because we can finally look at a snapshot of the network from a while ago and compare it to what we're seeing today. But what should we expect for 2024? Our objectives is basically stay the same because we believe there is a lot of work that's still to be done and we are not even halfway through it. During the last spring, Google Summer of Code program, we created a prototype of a new API that is intended to eventually replace Onionu. We want this to be the primary API for data about the Tor network, and actually we're now close to open it up for alpha testers, so if you're interested, please stay tuned because we're going to reach out for feedback soon. So we want to start offering relay operator metrics that are relevant to them and work closer with the community to be tools that we can all use. So this is something that interests you. Check the issue mentioned on this slide and leave your feedback because we're going to take this into consideration. We are very excited about everything that we have planned for the year ahead. We remain mainly focused on improving the accessibility of Tor data. Say this, if you're interested in metrics and you would like to get involved, please do get in touch. We'd love to have you as part of the metrics team. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the internet.
All right, that was our virtual hero, our metrics team lead. We want to make our data more available and have better metrics. Better metrics will help us understand our network, our service, and how the work we are doing, like congestion control or conflicts, is impacting the user experience. This work is not something that is easy to get grants for. That is why contributions like yours are important, because they help us pay for this type of work. So to talk more about fundraising campaign and how you can make a positive impact on Tor, I would like to invite Al, our Director of Fundraising. Hi, Al. Welcome to the State of the Onion 2023.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Hi,
I'm passing
everyone.
the mic.
Hi, everyone. My name is Al Smith. I am the Director of Fundraising at the Tor Project. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about how you can support Tor. You've heard from many different folks from across our organization who do all kinds of work on Tor, and they've all shared ways that you can get engaged, like running relays or bridges, adding the Snowflake extension to your browser, joining the metrics team, or helping test our software for a variety of purposes and teams. And these are all really wonderful ways to support Tor and to get involved in our community. I also understand that these volunteer opportunities take time, and time is a limited resource. We all have a million things happening in our lives. So another way that you can support Tor and join our community is to make a donation of any size, either one time or monthly. As a donor, you are invited to participate in events, to keep up with Tor developments, and to connect with me and the rest of the team in real life and online about why Tor matters to you. Something that we did this year was dig deep into why our community supports Tor and why donors are interested in this mission. We sent out a survey and received 223 survey responses from monthly donors and from repeat donors. 95% of repeat donors said that what they like most about Tor is that it protects the privacy of themselves or others. Some of you in this audience probably even responded to this survey, and you may remember choosing this as your answer. Something else that we learned is that even when folks don't use Tor or maybe used Tor in the past and don't use it anymore, they understand the importance of Tor to combat censorship and privacy invasion, and they give to Tor because they know that millions of people around the world need it and use it every day. And another thing that we learned from you and your fill-in responses is that giving to Tor is a source of happiness. It's a source of joy because fighting for human rights and fighting for human rights online is the right thing to do. And it feels good to make a donation in the name of that cause. When you become a donor, you are joining this community of people like you who care about privacy online and want Tor to continue to thrive. This is a community of like-minded people all working towards a better internet, giving their skills, talent, and support in every way that they can. So I invite you to become part of our community by making a donation. I'll circle back to why this is so important. You know, this cause is bigger than me. It's bigger than any one of us as a single person. And I think the clearest way to summarize the impact of contributing to Tor is through the words of someone who uses it. This anonymous user told us that Tor helps them to bypass blocking and get more privacy. And without it, many very important sources of information would be inaccessible. I think that's really at the heart of this work. And it's the vision that all of us have where people can be online and access the information that they need easily, without censorship, and without being spied on by big tech or by governments. Why make a donation now? Now is an important crux. Relative to our adversaries, the Tor Project is a very small organization. There are global governments and companies who are developing and weaponizing surveillance and censorship tech with billions of dollars to spend. And we are a small nonprofit. We make a big dent in this world and offering a protection, but we're still ultimately a small organization. So every amount of support helps. That being said, this year is particularly difficult. There's economic uncertainty everywhere. I'm sure you watching this stream understand that well. There are massive layoffs at tech companies, and this in particular has impacted our community of donors. And throughout the nonprofit industry, giving and donations are down. So right now is a really important time to just help us survive a period of uncertainty. And today, in particular, is an excellent day to make a gift because your donation will be matched by Friends of Tor. That means if you give $25, your donation becomes $50 automatically. I encourage you to check out the Friends of Tor on our website. The folks who came together to create this matching pool are a diverse and eclectic set of people who believe in privacy online. And I hope you check out more information about these folks who have stood up for privacy and been leaders in this space. Thank you to the Friends of Tor. And beyond, the mission and the values of Tor, if you make a donation, you can qualify for some amazing thank you gifts, like this brand new Tor t-shirt. And I think this is the first piece of Tor swag that has featured a depiction of onions in a few years. So I'm super excited about it. Shout out to our brand designer, Nico, who made this incredible new design. It is available for a donation of $75. And one more piece of amazing onion swag is our new sticker. If you are a current monthly donor or you become a monthly donor before the end of the year, you will get this exclusive sticker in the mail early next year. This is only available to monthly donors. So any amount will qualify you and you can get a cool onion for your laptop. You can donate in a bunch of different forms on donate.torproject.org. All of our donations are tax deductible in the US. You can donate in whatever way makes sense for you, via credit card. We accept multiple cryptocurrencies. You can send a check in the mail, and there's a bunch of different options if you check out our site. I'm also super excited to say that we now can offer tax-deductible donations for most people living in most European countries. We do this through our Open Collective profile. This URL is kind of long, opencollective.com/the-Tor-project-Europe. I hope someone in the chat can type that out. I'd appreciate it. This is the first time we've really been able to offer this on a larger scale, so very excited that this is available. Check out our Open Collective profile and make a tax-deductible donation today. The final thing, I just want to circle us back to the reason why the Tor Project is asking for donations, and that's because we're a nonprofit. We are the antithesis of big tech. We are not selling you down the river for profit. We don't spy on you. And building Tor requires community support. It's worth it to me because this kind of privacy that Tor can provide is at the crux of so many questions that are facing us right now as humanity. Privacy enables us to do so many things like participate in democracy and vote, engage in activism when our government does not want us to try on new ideas, to research new information, to have close, intimate relationships with other people. I think what Edward Snowden said in 2013 really sums it up perfectly for me, which is, I don't want to live in a world where everything I say, everything I do, everyone I talk to, and every expression of creativity or love or friendship is recorded. That really resonates with me, and I think it resonates with many or most of the people in the Tor Project community. So if you believe in this mission and you've heard the work that we've done today and you want it to continue, please consider making a donation. It will be matched 1-to-1. Thank you so much for supporting our work in every way. Thank you to volunteers, existing donors, and all of our supporters. I'm going to hand it back to Isabela now.
Thank you. I really like that quote as well, and it also resonates with me. And I think you said it all, right? Like, we are a small team, but we're doing amazing work, and we are being very successful on our mission, despite the size of the people that we're going against, right? We are able to provide people secure technology to stay anonymous online, to bypass censorship, and to have access to internet in a free and protective way. So this is amazing. And I appreciate you bringing all those quotes, and thank you so much.
Agree, thank you.
Yeah, so everybody, we almost at the end right now of our live stream. You saw that all our teams are working really hard, right? Like, not only to make Tor usable today for our users, but already planning for the future. And we have great projects. We have RT, we have the VPN, we have new anti-censorship tools coming. We have more ways where the community can integrate the Tor Academy. It's an amazing, our new first in-person event with such an incredible curriculum of trainings to our partners, right? And we will continue doing this. Our mission is to advance human rights. And unfortunately, right now in the world, we do need to be on the top of that, because people need to defend human rights. There are violations happening every day, everywhere. And the internet, it's one of the first things that they cut, they censor, they block, or they use to spy on people to retaliate against them, right? Like, so we need to have a way to use the internet where we are protected, where our freedoms are protected, and where we can organize and we can build solidarity in this work. So I hope you enjoy our update. Again, don't forget that next week on December 6th, we're going to have our community State of the Union at 1700 UTC. And that would be a great moment for you to hear about all the projects that are using the Tor technology. They're also part of our ecosystem. And like anything else at Tor, everything is about community. So we also want to build a space for folks on our community to talk about the project, so you can also get to know what they're doing and support them as well. Tor has always been about community. One of the things that you heard across the board from everybody's presentation is how we are thankful for the folks that we have on our community and the help that we receive and the support and the trust, and we want to give it back as well. So we are at the end of the 2023 State of the Onion. I'd like to thank you for staying with us so far. And again, please make a donation and help this project move forward. So thank you so much and have a great day. Thank you.